Hello everybody, this is Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you this week. Right? So you had that last night's episode that gave you away the fourth secret word. So then you got the 4 words, and you're going to get the number 1 video game of all time. You got to get that. If you don't get that, you don't get the prize. But I better see those messages. Anyway, let's talk. Today's episode is about my top 10 Star Wars video games of all time. And also, I'm going to do a small revise to my original top 10 Star Wars movies of all time, adding in The Rise of Skywalker. I'm not going to give a long detail to the other movies since I've already did a podcast earlier in the year on them. So without further ado, let's get to it!
And I'm coming on back to you.
What's up, Minnie?
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's good. Bring the pain! You know what that means. So, we play Star Wars video games, so I'm going to do 10 games. And I know that you haven't played all these games. I've talked about them to you, but you don't really know them. But when I explain to you kind of like the timeline that it takes place, you understand it. So, we saw The Rise of the Skywalker. How did you like it?
It was cool.
Yeah, you loved it? It was a great movie?
Yeah, it was a good movie.
That's good. Do you think it's the best Star Wars in your opinion?
Well, I liked The Empire Strikes Back and The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know what to put first, though.
Okay, well, that's a lot. You can speak up, too.
Okay.
So, you're right next to the microphone. I know that my voice is loud and that Minnie's is a little faint, but that's okay. That's just the way it is. So, yeah, you're right. It was a great movie. We'll talk about it when we get to it, when we do that, because I do want to, give that its own section. And at a later date, we can discuss The Rise of Skywalker, what it means, when we have a little more time. Of course, it's Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
So, yeah, this is going to be a fun one. A lot of people are going to know these games, and a lot of people's number one isn't going to be my number one because I just feel that a lot of people just don't know about this game. They know about it, they heard about it, but they've not really played it because it really doesn't exist anymore other than emulation. So, that's a little hint. But without further ado, let's get right into it because this is why y'all are here. You're here to bring the pain to the Star Wars video games list. Oh yeah! All right. Number 10. Knights of the Old Republic. This is the series / what people want movies. They want movies for the Knights of the Old Republic. Do you understand?
I never played that game.
Well, yeah, because it was an online computer game, and it's been out. I don't think many people play it anymore. But the thing is the story that they had was good. It was a great game. The progression system and the gameplay was fast and fluid for kind of a slow, kind of role playing kind of game that it was. But one thing, it kind of killed one of the games that I really love. It kind of took it out. Because when this game came around, it ended the other game. In a way. They let the other game go. We'll get to that game. But at the same time, you could do anything in this game. And the story is what brings people back. That this is the old times. This is like pre-Yoda. This is back in the day with all the people that people love. So, it gets number 10 for me because I didn't have a lot of exposure. I didn't really play it that much. And it just wasn't one of those games. But what I played enough of to actually enjoy.
Hell yeah!
Number 9. Star Wars Pod Racer.
What?
This game is actually a racing game for the I had it for the PlayStation, and it was based off of episode 1. And it totally was about that pod racing scene from episode 1. Remember, Anakin wins. He beats the Bulba.
That seemed like that would be a fun game.
Yeah, it was. It was really, you could select, you could play 2 players, and you could select all different racers, and everybody had their own positives and negatives. You could get upgrades. You could repair yourself during the time, and you could do a lot. But it was just, like you even had the shortcut from the movie where Anakin kind of busts and goes up, flying up to the, like off the mountain and comes ahead. That's in this. Like, you can do that as a secret. A lot of people liked it. You remember when Bombastic did it? Mm-hmm. And someone remade Just Board 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. If you guys haven't checked that out, check out Bombastic on Stay Bombastic on Twitter. I think it's at Stay Bombastic, but Bombastic on YouTube. He just makes videos, does kills of the week. It's a funny Australian guy, but yeah, he's he's awesome. And he does great content, and he's right. He gives you a lot of history lessons. He did a top 10 list. Mine's a little different. He did not bring up my number 1 in his list. So that tells you right there, people, that you are getting a number 1 that other people don't know about. Ooh, yeah! All right. So it sounded like a fun game. Would you would play it?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'm going to have to bust it out for the PlayStation 2. Because it can play that game. I have it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I have my number 8, Jedi Power Battles. This game was awesome. Okay, so the control was really slippy. So, you would just fall a lot, but you're used to that in Fallen Order, too. It must be like a whole kind of thing with Star Wars games. You just fall a lot. But this game actually gave you multiple Jedis to use. Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi, Mace Windu, whatever the girl's name was. I don't remember. But everybody had either they were fast or they were strong. With each person, each time you got a level, you could select a new combo to do. Each combo produced different effects and made you stronger. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, what made it hard as 2 players is both players had to actually make all the jumps, but they couldn't occupy the same space at the same time. So, that being said, you pretty much had to jump in succession in some places. It was really crazy and really hard. But the bosses you had to fight, flying, you had to fight flying things, droids. You could reflect their bullets back or their lasers back at them. So you kind of had to practice that. And then you had, the other things. So it was a really fun game. You had special attacks. There was a lot to do, but man, I tell you, it was a hard game, but it's fun. Would you play a game like that?
Maybe.
Maybe? Doesn't sound fun?
No, not really.
Because it's hard?
Yeah.
It was a little easier on one player because then you just kind of had to just do that. So, that's what you do. You got to talk like that.
Okay.
All right? Crazy.
I never played these games before. What do I say?
You don't have to. I'm explaining them perfectly. Because a lot of people have played these games. And a lot of them may not be the guess. But again, this comes to my exposure. I like that game because you could block. It was fun. It was the whole story. You got everything you needed in that game. And I just didn't think that you could do it better. But they could have worked on the control because it was really slippy. And that's what I mean. You literally fall a lot in that game. So let's move on. Number 7, Shadows of the Empire. Now, this was a Nintendo 64 game. And it featured Dash Rendar. And this was between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And one cool thing about this game is, of course, in Jedi Power Battles, it was just more of like a beat-em-up, pod racer, you were racing, Knights of the Old Republic, it was just a game. This game, you got to do the flying, you got to... I even remember this, train board, you had to, jump the train, but it was 3D. So you got to run around and shoot, and you met with Luke, and there's so much to it, and the storyline was really good because this is when this fills in that gap between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. That's why they made a book about it. So, and the guy had a cool name, Dash Rendar. That's a cool name. What do you think?
It's kind of a strange name.
Dash. Yeah, good stuff. All right, number 6. This is one of my personal favorites. This is for the GameCube. It was Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. Now, this game actually followed a lot of the major flying events in the Star Wars histories between the regular, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Now, this game was a launch game for the Nintendo GameCube. So, Nintendo went all out when they made this game. It was all flying, but it controlled, it was fun, it was hard, it made sense. And I remember it was at the 4th board when you first had to fight an Imperial Star Destroyer, and they brought out the Imperial March songs right when you go out. It just comes right in, and it's like, dun, 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 dun. And you got to fight it. By the end of the game, you're fighting about 3 or 4 of Imperial Star Destroyers. It gets really crazy. The final battle in this game is insane, because once you do that, then you have to actually go inside and blow the Death Star up too. So, and then you got to get out. So there's a lot to do in this game. It's fun, and the cutscenes, the story, again, it just leads everything, and it gives you a different view. So while you're watching the movie, you're watching like the Skywalkers, and everybody talking and doing their things, whatever. But with this game, you got to see like Wedge, and you got the backstory. There's a little more backstory. So let's move it up. Number 5, this is the one I talked about a lot. There's 3 games. It's the Super Star Wars trilogy. So there was Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi. And all of them were really good. So at the beginning, Luke kind of just uses his blaster a lot. So this is a game of power-ups. If you got a life power-up and lived, your life bar would increase. If you got a power-up for your weapon, it would go through the levels. It would start out as a laser blaster, then it would ultimately become like a homing missile, and then like a plasma beam, which was really good. But if you died, you lost it. So you always had to just make sure that you tried not to die. Eventually, Luke got a lightsaber. But it was more into like Empire Strikes Back, that when you started using the lightsaber more than the gun. But you could also use like Chewie. He was really big. His bowcaster was really strong. You could be Han Solo. He had different moves. Again, everybody had different things, so you could select different characters for different boards. And what was really cool, to stay close to the movie, if that character was unavailable at that point, they were not usable. So, like in the 3rd one, for Return of the Jedi, you start out with Leia in her Return of the Jedi when she was with Jabba on the palace. She's in that, bikini thing. But she's got a whip. So you go through that with her. Around this time, this is where kind of like Luke kind of takes over the game. You can select other people, but Luke starts actually becoming. And that's what the fun thing about this series is that in the first game, you relied on guns. In the second game, you got Jedi powers, but you also still kind of relied on your guns. But by the end of the game, you were just Luke. And the fight with Vader is amazing. And then Return of the Jedi, more powers, more fun. Like, you don't know how many times I saved myself with falling into a pit. But the game was hard too. Like, the jumps, you would jump, you would hit spikes, you would die, things would leave you. It wasn't slippy, but it was a hard. Each one of these games are hard. But I beat all 3 of them, as I've beat all these games, except, like, of course, Knights of the Old Republic. I have it up there because I played it more than other Star Wars games, like X-Wing Fighter and X-Wing vs. TIE. So a lot of those games, and that's where I got it. And this game had it all. It had the story. You had each game for each thing, and it played each game to the movie. It was fun. It might be hard for you, but, would you like to play a game like that? You even got to do the land speeder.
Yeah.
Yeah? Sounds fun?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to move up to number 4, Battlefront 2. Here's a game you can talk about finally. So on Battlefront 2, of course, you had the single-player mode with Iden Versio. Story was great. Again, this is after the Emperor supposedly had died at that time. And Order 66, all that's all gone. This is where the contingency plan came in. And this game gave you a little view of that after he was, supposedly killed and the collapse of the Empire. Like, the Empire still was strong. So that told you that Palpatine still had to be around. So what does Battlefront do for you?
Well, it's fun, so sometimes on lunch break I'll play Battlefront 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters I was best at was Rey and Kylo Ren. Those are our highest ones. They're both level 4.
Well, Vader's high too.
Well, yeah, but...
Yeah, and you liked the story with Iden, right?
Yeah, we finished that.
Yeah, and you were pretty good at that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but online was fun. And that's where Bombastic comes from. That's where Stay Bombastic was a big part of our lives for a while, is that, we got to watch those videos. He was playing it. And, the character selection of this game now is just uncanny. I mean, you got Anakin, Vader. You got everybody you could want. Yoda. General Grievous. And even in the new boards like Felucia ordered... Because now that we got the Celebration Edition, which was nice. Yeah, we actually have new outfits now too. We haven't even checked that out yet.
Oh yeah.
Those are released.
Yeah, it's already past the movie.
Yeah, so we have to go check those out eventually.
Yeah.
And then, so like when you used your regular people, did you like the heavy guy, or were you a specialist, or the assault guy?
I was the heavy guy.
Yeah? For some reason, I liked the officer for a while, but then I started using the sniper.
I mean, I really liked specialist, too. I kind of used that one more.
Yeah, that's cool. That works out.
Hell yeah!
So, just off of it, why Battlefront 2 is up there, and of course there was the original Battlefront series 1 and 2 that everybody praises. Unfortunately, a lot of you will be found out that I never really got those. They just somehow missed me. I was playing another game at that time. But this one I did get. I got both Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 for the PS4. And Battlefront 2 is just... We have put a lot of time playing that game because it was just always fun. It was easy to jump into a match. The new boards that they always... they got Supremacy, Capital Supremacy. There's like some of these boards, they take like a good hour... Or like a good, 30, 40 minutes the one time we were playing in one of the Supremacy modes. Like, that's a long time to play just a board, but it was really fun. And I couldn't have beat it. It was cool.
Yeah.
Do you like those? Do you like the Supremacy modes? Or do you like the other modes they have?
The other modes.
Like what?
Like heroes versus villains.
Mm-hmm. And then, how about Hero Starfighters?
Well, that game is, you have some of the heroes and villains, like ships, and it's like heroes versus villains, but except you're just flying around in space in ships.
Yeah, it's fun, but I think at the same time, I just have to be on the ground using a lightsaber, deflecting bullets back, doing what I gotta do. All right, well, Battlefront 2, let's move to the top 3. This is one that we actually did rebuy recently. Number 3 is Force Unleashed, both 1 and 2. And this is where the character Starkiller / Galen Merrick was introduced. This game had a lot of choosing between the light and dark side when you would fight bosses because of the struggle that Galen kind of was put through by Darth Vader. And Darth Vader also kept Galen undercover because he didn't want the Emperor to know about Galen. So that's why when you run across stormtroopers and rebels in the game, you actually attack both of them.
Oh yeah!
So now I've showed you some of this game. This is the game where he pulled a whole Star Destroyer out of the sky and slammed it right down. It's crazy when he did it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You got to play the game. We have it, and you can use it for the Wii U now. Since our cat ate our Wii bar cord, so
Well, she just teared it up with her claws.
yeah. So we without a Wii bar, it kind of incapacitates the Wii U, especially if you want to play like a Wii game.
Didn't you buy a new one?
I did. That's why we can play Dash Rendar, or not Dash Rendar, Gale America now. But you can learn that story too because it's really good, and that's what it's about. So like right when you start out at the beginning, you're Vader, and then you go. That's where you actually fight Gale America's father, and so yeah, that's it. And the game was great. It was put together. It controlled awesome. The force battles. The force, like all the force you used, it was just crazy. Anything you could do, like it was a fast-paced game. And then it came down to the final end when you had to fight your clones of yourself and Vader at the same time. And I also read this book. This was an amazing book as well too. So Force Unleashed, if you ain't played it, go get it. That is a badass game.
Hell yeah!
All right, you know what? Number 2, Fallen Order. Heck yeah. Not only did a movie come in and storm my top 10, now 11 movie list, this game also came in. Cal, Sierra, Trilla, you get lightsaber customization. The progression system's awesome. You get to choose what abilities you want when you want. I even pulled off tricks like that one time. I had to I had to force push this wall, climb it real quick, and jump up to this other part. Instead, I just jumped on top of it, kind of glitched it, and just jumped over. Because for some reason, I was stuck on that for like 20 minutes, trying to push the stupid wall and trying to jump up.
What?
Also, sometimes it goes like flashbacks when you're a kid and you do these trainings with his master.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just saw the last one to kind of give you guys an update of where we are in this game. Was the one where his master was killed. So we haven't beat the game because we don't play for like a long set time, but we've been playing it once a week or once every 5 days, and that's where we're at. And it's been a great story so far. So, I mean, what has Fallen Order has done for you? Do you like playing it, or is it getting hard for you?
It's kind of getting hard, but I do like playing it.
Yeah. So then, you could go through the game, and once we're powerful and everything, and you can go through the game yourself, and kill things and try to get used to the game, and maybe try to replay the game yourself. You never know.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. All right. Well, it stormed to number 2, but it is not number 1. Number 1, are y'all ready for it?
Ooh, yeah!
Is Star Wars Galaxies. Ooh, yeah! You got a double ooh, yeah right there. Haha. This game was amazing. If one game ever took every aspect of a Star Wars universe and put it into a game, it was this game. This game had the expansion packs. You had raids that you had to do with, a team. They were hard. You had to get buffs. And I just think that this might be clearly the best game ever. Even without the Star Wars tag to it, it would still be a great game. I've told you about this game. What do you think?
I don't remember this game that you told me about.
Yeah, you just don't remember it, huh?
No,
No,
I never played it before.
I gotta get you on that. So they have, they've hacked the site so you can log into these servers and you can actually still play this game to this day because they ended this game right about the time, a little after they brought out Knights of the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic was to replace this game. So they pretty much started putting all their marbles in one basket, and that's how they kind of went. Now, Star Wars Galaxy, you had speeders. You could literally summon your aircraft, hop in it, and fly straight into the space. And you could fly to the next planet. Or you could light speed jump to the next planet. You could stay outside of the planets and fight raiders. You could stay outside of the planets and fight other players. You could land. You could build a whole city. They called them guild cities. And that's where the professions in this game came from. So for a lot of you people who don't know what Star Wars Galaxy did other than watching videos, you were able to get together with your guild and build a city. So someone would be like a politician. And in this game, you could be an armor smith, you could be a weaponsmith, you could make items, you could be a moisture farmer, you could go mining, you could do so much in this game. It was just, there was everything you could do. And that's all you had to do. You didn't even have to raid. Like a rabbit could beat you up, but you could definitely do some moisture farming. That's how deep this game was.
That game kind of sounds like fun.
It is fun. But you start out fighting frogs for a very long time. Frogs and rabbits. But not like frogs, like kind of weird looking frogs. So this game, also, it had the Jedi progression system. So when you started out the game, you got to pick everything you wanted to do. If you wanted more attack, it had 3 modes, which was pre-CU, which was pre-combat upgrade. It had CU, which was combat upgrade, where all damage actually went to the life bar, which thank God it did. Because I was a tank, I didn't have much for mind. So then, like, when some attacks would damage your mind, I could be knocked out. Here I am with 1,600 health, but I only have a 400 on mind. So if someone does 400 damage to my mind, I'm incapacitated on the ground. Yet, I still have all this life. So, and the one cool thing is I played this with your Uncle Jay a lot. And so me, him, and this guy Kotir would just raid everything. They were always bounty hunters. So Josh always was like a rifleman, and Kotir was like a pistolier. And that's what they were called. Like, you would earn enough points, and you would buy these, like, just like in Fallen Order, you would buy that next level. That next level would allow you to use separate guns, stronger guns, and you use that as a weaponsmith. You could do that. You could do so much. But to become a Jedi in this game, they made it a little easier in combat upgrade, which I liked. You could always string together a lot of your combos too, your macros, so you could just hit one button and you would do like 3 attacks at once. And it moved slow. It was like a role-playing game because it was an MMORPG, and that's why it was so deep. But to become a Jedi, you had to complete 6 phases. Each phase lasted 3 weeks. So even to get near being a Jedi, you had to put all those weeks, 18 weeks of effort in, on top of everything else you had to do. How's that sound?
That sounds kind of fun.
That's why it was the best game.
But it also seems a little hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been killed by Rancors. And you couldn't go to Dathomir. Like, you went to Dathomir, you were dead. Like, minutes. Like, you land, something would just blow your machine up, and you'd be spawning somewhere else, and there was just dangerous planets. Like, you could go to Tatooine. That's another thing. This game had all the planets, like Naboo, and you could just go there, and it would be so much, like, you could do so much. But when you finally got to the village and you got your Jedi, then you could start earning points to become a Jedi. That's when you would get your lightsaber, you would learn your attacks. And another cool thing about this game is content from the beginning was unattainable in the 3rd game installation. So after combat upgrade, they came new game environment, NGE. And that kind of changed the game to make it more like Knights of the Old Republic, which did not work for this game, in my opinion. But they had to do it to try to stay in competition, to bring things balanced. But when they changed it to New Game Experience, they just made Jedi a selectable character. So all the work I put in for all those months, everything, they just made it selectable. Of course, you got a Jedi, you got a Grand Jedi Master tag if you were a Jedi before the Switch. I missed the Switch by 3 days. My 18 weeks ran up 2 days after they switched it. It was on a Thursday that I was supposed to get my Jedi status, and they switched the game on a Tuesday. And that was it. I just quit because I was mad and I didn't like the way the new game played. Even though some people still stuck with it, I just went somewhere else. I just stopped playing. That's it. That's how we did it. I had to bring the burn. But talking about it, that's why that game was number 1. The selectability. And like I said, so your Uncle Josh and me, we had Sunrider's Destiny, which is the Aquamarine Force Kyber Crystal that Obi-Wan used for his lightsaber. By the end of the game, you couldn't get that crystal anymore. Yet, if you had that crystal, you could make the best armor in the game with it. So that's why playing a game from the beginning to the end, and that's why this game is so much better than a lot of other games. Because it was fun, it was cool, it had all elements of Star Wars. You could just be a flute player. You could just be a dancer, and you could just buff people, and then they would pay you like $10,000 or $20,000 for buff to get your team buff before raids. That's how it did it. That's how it worked. And that is my top 10 Star Wars games list. Ooh, yeah! So, that being said, what did you think? Do you think that Fallen Order would get up to the top?
Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's do before we get out of here, I'm going to do my updated list for the movies. Now, my old list was, of course, 10, Attack of the Clones, 9, Phantom Menace, 8, A New Hope, 7, The Force Awakens, 6, Revenge of the Sith, 5, The Last Jedi, 4, Rogue One, 3, Solo, 2, Empire Strikes Back, and 1, Return of the Jedi. My new list is 11, Attack of the Clones. I love it. You know, it has great fight scenes. Something's got to be at the bottom. And for me, I just thought that this was more filler because of the love story. Number 10, Phantom Menace. This brought Star Wars back to us after the original trilogy. I love all trilogies of Star Wars. I'm no hater. I'm expanded universe person. I'm audiobook person. I'm video game person. And I'm movie person. I like it all. Number 9, Force Awakens. It gave it back to us. Now, with the new movie, you noticed I have moved a few of these around because I want to be relevant. I think that some of these ones may be less relevant than the other ones. So, for me, Force Awakens, yes, this was the awakening in Rey. A lot of people didn't know where the series was going to go. I liked it. It was a fun movie, and it was a great way to bring everybody back. It sucked Han died, but that happens. What you loved Force Awakens, right?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah? So that's what brought you into Rey. All right, number 8, A New Hope. I loved it. It was a great movie, but I'm a Luke fan, and Luke's role was big in this, but he was kind of like the video game Super Star Wars. He was just average. He was just part of the crew, and then he made himself shine at the end. So, number 7, Rogue One. I moved this one a little bit. It was in the top 5. It moved out of it because I just felt that, you know, even though it was a great standalone movie, for me, and then the ending where Vader just sliced through all those rebels, that was just amazing too. But for me, it still was, it showed how great a Star Wars movie could be without having a lot of Jedi in it. Number 6, The Last Jedi. This was a great movie. A lot of people hated this movie. I thought it worked. And I loved the boards in Battlefront 2. The whole, you know, salt with it going red, like that was just awesome. And you got to see, up until The Rise of Skywalker, you got to actually see the Force projection, which is one of the skills that has never really been used other than like maybe Force choke by Vader or electric by Palpatine. This was a new skill used. So therefore, I like that. I like that they were starting to open the universe up a little bit by making stronger, you know, Force moves, right?
Yeah.
What did you think about The Last Jedi and Luke passing at the end?
Well, it was sad when he passed, and, well, I really liked the movie, too.
Yeah, that was good. Number 5, not because it's Revenge of the Sith.
Hell yeah!
Now, I mean, this has, in my opinion, the best lightsaber clash. It lasted a long time. There was so much animosity leading up to I hate you by Anakin said to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan feeling just left. Like, this devastated Obi-Wan when Anakin turned and became Darth Vader. And then, you know, like, you could feel the emotion through Obi-Wan when he was watching that video, when Yoda told him not to, of Anakin killing the younglings. That was crazy. So, what did you think about that fight in Mustafar? When the fire and the lava...
It was crazy.
Yeah? That was really good, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right, let's move up. Number 4, Solo. I love this movie. We finally got the Kessel Run like I explained to you before. I love the way it was put together. I love the Han character. I mean, I loved Beckett. I mean, who doesn't like Woody Harrelson? And Beckett was awesome. And Kira, she played it good. I read this book, audiobook this book. It was really good too. It added a little more to the story. And then getting Darth Maul with his metal legs at the end. I mean, that was cool.
Yeah.
So, leads me to my number 3, Empire Strikes Back.
That's one of my favorite movies.
I know, it's so great. I am your father. It gives you everything. It gives you the fight, but it ends it on a bad note. It's because the Empire does win. Han is frozen in carbonite. Luke is wounded in the battle versus Vader. Found out who Vader was. And it added so much. I mean, he had the training. He was still raw. But to me, it gets number 3. Because number 2 is Return of the Jedi. Oh, you guys know what my number 1 is now. Again, Return of the Jedi. The climatic battle between Luke and Vader when Luke finally loses his shit. And he goes to... And when Vader goes, a sister. You have betrayed her as well. So, next thing you know, you got the fight going on. You got everything happening. You have Vader. And then you get the Emperor. Because Luke was always diplomatic. He throws his lightsaber down and just takes the damage from Emperor Palpatine, leading up to changing Darth Vader and Darth Vader throwing him down the pit. That was crazy. And, go.
I was going to say, yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was neat. It was nuts. And, number 1, The Rise of Skywalker. That movie, why does Rise of the Skywalker get number 1? I will tell you why. Not because of lightsaber battles, although I gotta say, Rey and Kylo did fight a lot with their lightsabers, but that whole, when they had that tug of war with that transporter and she shot that lightning out of her hands, that was crazy.
Well, it would make sense if she was a Palpatine.
Exactly. She has that power. It's already gifted to her. And she also... You know, this movie did everything. It scared everybody off. You started with Palpatine. He looked like he had been dead in water floating for weeks. He looked bloated, but I guess that'll happen when you fall down a shaft and explode into blue light. Things like that. Like, Luke fell down the shaft and he ended up, going through a bunch of tubes and then outside where they picked him up, outside of Cloud City. So, it wasn't I can see how the Emperor lived. And he maybe force stopped himself, who knows, and lessened his damage. But he was beaten. He was deteriorated because he'd probably been on that machine so long that it was just eating him. And, I mean, the ending I thought was great. It was nice to see Kylo kind of return, or Ben return that favor to Rey by giving her that power back, which again was another power we used that was introduced. The Force healing. But, of course, we saw that power with Yoda, or Baby Yoda, you could say. When Baby Yoda healed the guy on the last episode of The Mandalorian. It was the same exact thing when she stabbed Kylo Ren. And then she healed him. And, the whole thing together. And then those were pods. That was cool. Yeah. So that's it. That's my number 1. We will do another podcast probably next week. We'll analyze The Rise of Skywalker. So, with that being said, we got everything done that we needed to take care of. So let's get some heads ready to roll here as we talk about things that make some Star Wars fans jerks. We got the expanded universe nerds. These guys These guys literally always get mad if something doesn't go their way. Guys, can't you just be cool, man? Let Disney do their things. Like, they're going to work it out. It'll be fine. It'll be all good. It always works out. Number 2, this actually happened. People who walked out of The Rise of Skywalker. Dude, you paid money. If you're that EU nerd that's butthurt, and you got to walk out of a movie you paid for because it's not going your way, why'd you even show up? Did you do that just to, like, show that you could walk out of a movie? What? Like, get out of here, dude. We don't need you anyway. And number 3, we're done fighting. Nobody needs to fight about expanding universe. Just be happy Disney is giving us movies. That's why Flying Casual on Facebook is awesome, because nobody fights in there. We all talk, we all accept everybody's theory, and that's why it is the best. So that being said, I think we're done. We talked about my top list. There's no way a lot of you even knew about Star Wars Galaxies being my number 1. Mitty, it's Christmas Eve. Santa's going to be here soon. You ready?
Yep.
That's right. So without further ado, let's end it. And always remember to bring the pain.